James, Jimmy, if I may call you. We gotta have a little talk, man. What's going on with Wonder Woman? We're barely a few months away from the first big project in the new DCU, because Creature Commandos barely counts, as Superman is right around the corner, and that is fantastic. There's a sense of optimism and hope for the future of this universe that I have longed for over the last few years. It only took them an actual decade, but we finally have one creative vision leading the charge with a lot of refreshing projects to look forward to from DC Studios. But there's one teeny tiny little problem I have with this first chapter's lineup. It's that Gods and Monsters is missing its most important demi-goddess, Wonder Woman. And I know, I should just be grateful that we have a DCU this cohesive at all, with so many movies and shows to look forward to, and don't get me wrong, I absolutely am. But my greed knows no bounds, and for the last 2+ years, I have been left wondering what the plan is for Wonder Woman in the long term. For a character as iconic as her, it's weird to see her on the back burner like this, especially considering that she's part of DC's Trinity. Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman are all constantly championed as the big three at the company, and rightfully so. Each character has been around for decades and has stood the test of time as heroes that only get more popular with age. They've been part of some industry-defining events and stories and have earned their place on the Mount Rushmore of comic book characters. And I know that a few weeks ago, James Gunn made it clear that there have been a lot of encouraging updates on Wonder Woman behind the scenes, and for some reason, they can't be shared publicly yet. But here's the thing. Despite her undeniable status in the hierarchy of power in the DC universe, Wonder Woman is hardly ever treated like the big name that she is. DC can parade her around as one of their mascots all they want, but it doesn't take much to see just how underutilized she is. Let's compare her to her peers, shall we? Wonder Woman has had 2 live-action movies and 1 live-action television series. Not bad at all, especially compared to some other characters who have been stuck in development hell. Well, that is, until you compare her to literally any other superhero nowadays. When Venom, of all characters, has more movies than you, something is going wrong behind the scenes. Meanwhile, Batman and Superman each have 9 live-action movies alone. Let me say that again for you. They each have 9 live-action movies alone. That is more than 4 times that of Wonder Woman. The disparity could not be more blatant, but hey, perhaps I'm being unfair. The past is in the past, and I'm willing to look past that and look towards the future. As long as we're making attempts to fix that in the modern day, all is forgiven. So let's take a quick look at every DCU project currently in development. On the film side of things, we have Superman, Supergirl, Clayface, The Authority, The Brave and the Bold, Swamp Thing, Teen Titans, Dynamic Duo, whatever the hell that Bane and Deathstroke film is gonna be, and then Sergeant Rock, if that's still happening, I don't know. It seemed to get canceled a few weeks ago, but then it seems like they're just gonna reevaluate it at the end of the year to see if they can shoot it in 2026 instead. Okay, so no Wonder Woman yet to be seen, but I'm sure the TV side of things will make up for that. We got Creature Commandos Season 2, Peacemaker, Lanterns, Waller, Paradise Lost, which is something. It's a prequel that won't involve Diana, but it's something. My Beloved Booster Gold, and the animated Blue Beetle series. At least we're finally on the board here. It may just be a prequel series that probably won't even have Wonder Woman in it, because that's how the formula for this kind of thing works. I'm looking at you, Krypton. But at least it's something from her corner of the universe. That being said, it doesn't even come close to comparing how Superman, Batman, and their supporting cast all have a litany of projects on the horizon, while all we've gotten is a breadcrumb of Wonder Woman's storytelling to look forward to. I think what only accentuates this point more is the fact that Batman and Superman are both making their DCU debut this year. Batman barely makes the cut as he has a cameo in episode 6 of Creature Commandos, which aired on January 2nd, but that still counts for something, and I'm gonna use it in my argument here. I'm sorry, Jamesy, I lied in the intro. Creature Commandos does apparently matter. And obviously, Superman is being positioned as the linchpin of this entire universe as his long-awaited return to the silver screen hits on July 11th, and rightfully so, might I add. But it feels strange to me to kick off this new universe with one of your most popular characters in such an aimless position, especially with some of the other projects in the pipeline. I do think it's genuinely cool how DC Studios will greenlight just about anything as long as there's a good idea behind it, but in what world does it make sense that Sergeant Rock, of all people, could have a brighter future in the DCU than Wonder Woman? He got to show up in Creature Commandos in a cool action scene and everything. You know what Wonder Woman got to do in Creature Commandos? She was skewered like a human kebab, which is a wild first impression for her. I mean, I guess at least her potential costume looks nice. And this is nothing against Sergeant Rock. I know I keep picking on it throughout the video. I'm very very glad that there's a chance that movie might exist and will be seated day one on the sheer fact that Luca Guadagnino is directing, but the least you could do is give Wonder Woman that same kind of treatment and attention. And who knows, maybe Jimbo has genuinely been trying to make that happen, but he's been handicapped by bad pitches that he isn't confident enough to move forward with. In that case, I'd just like some specific and open updates on her character to get a greater understanding of why we're in the position we are right now. Big J has been very transparent about the fact that they're actively working on a Wonder Woman animated series, which I think is great. She's never had one of her own, and now seems like the perfect time to do one, especially considering the fact that she's the only member of the DC Trinity to not have their own animated series. And that would be such a cool way to highlight her throughout history and re-establish her as this pop culture icon. Look at what Kevin Conroy's take on Batman did for that character, and how the world that Bruce Timm and Paul Dini created went on to define what Batman is for decades to come. Imagine getting a Wonder Woman show like that. So many people would be introduced to her mythos in a very refreshing way that would do a lot for her character and public perception. The only issue with that is that those tweets are from over 2 years ago and we've heard nothing since. And it's not the best sign that DC Studios recently held a press conference to announce a ton of new projects, including an entire wing of animated series, and there was no sign of anything involving Wonder Woman. So that's not ideal, but I'm glad they're at least prioritizing getting the story right, hopefully. More often than not, superhero projects are rushed into development and result in an undercooked story that doesn't do these characters justice. That is the absolute last thing we need for Wonder Woman right now, so I will always appreciate creatives taking their time to make it work, despite how hypocritical I may sound saying that after spending the last 5 minutes complaining about her lack of representation. But I'm just not feeling the most confident about this Wonder Woman show happening anytime soon. Okay, you know what? Place your bets. What drops first? This Wonder Woman animated series, Blade, or Beyond the Spider-Verse? Personally, I think we get a nuclear winter first, but I'm hoping for the best. At least in these times of hardship, at the height of our Wonder Woman drought, we can always count on the Monolith game. Oh, fuck. Really? 3 years of development all thrown away just like that? And for what? Warner Bros. Official press release after shutting down Monolith and axing the game said that their hope was to give players and fans the highest quality experience possible for the iconic character, and unfortunately, this is no longer possible within our strategic priorities, which is fancy corporate talk for the brothers getting scared and cheap after Suicide Squad bombed, so they cut their losses. It was such a huge shame to see our only big Wonder Woman adaptation on the horizon sacrificed so Zaslav could afford an extra yacht. We could have had something special with that game, especially considering it would be taking advantage of the revolutionary Nemesis system, but I guess we're not allowed to have nice things. The future has never felt more hopeless for fans of her character, and that says a lot because Gal Gadot played her for 7 years.
Kal-El, no!
And honestly, I feel like she's to blame for a lot of this too. After Wonder Woman 1984 unfortunately released, nobody has wanted to touch her character, except for The Flash, and we all know how that turned out. It feels like nowadays there's an aversion and fear to adapting Wonder Woman again, as if the brand is damaged goods. My conspiracy theory that I can't back up with any proof is that people are afraid the wound is too fresh and they want to put more distance between that interesting movie in order to come back stronger than ever. But also, you never see that with a character like Batman. Since the failure that was Batman and Robin, we've had 3, count 'em, 3 different takes on the Caped Crusader. Wonder Woman should not be put into limbo for things that other characters can get away with. I understand wanting to take a break from this problem child, but I think that the best way to make people forget that Wonder Woman 1984 happened is to make a new great Wonder Woman movie. Knock that bad taste right out of our mouths with a film that will blow us away and reminds us how cool this character is supposed to be. Making her character off limits won't solve anything and just hurts her image even more, especially for someone who's supposed to be one of the faces of your company. But that's enough of me arguing against a fake scenario I came up with and can't back up with substantial proof, because I know I've been a bit more negative than my normal perspective is during these videos, but I promise you that's for good reason. First, I really needed to get this off my chest. This channel is basically just my excuse to not go to therapy, but in reality, I think it's important to give you the context of how little Wonder Woman we've seen so you can understand where I'm coming from in this next half of the video. I swear you will feel much more optimistic by the end of this, just let me cook. For a character with such a rich history, we've hardly scratched the surface on what she could offer, especially considering just how much of an icon she truly is. If you were to ask a random person off the street who the most popular DC heroes are, you'd probably get a Marvel character mentioned because people don't know what they're talking about, but once you filter them out, I guarantee you that Wonder Woman is going to be mentioned 9 out of 10 times. Her cultural relevance is undeniable as her impact reaches far beyond that of the comics. Ever since she debuted over 80 years ago in 1941, Wonder Woman has endured as a cornerstone of pop culture. Since practically the Stone Age, generation after generation has embraced her as a feminist icon. I know other characters predate her, but Wonder Woman was the first big female superhero that took the world by storm. In a time where women were often regulated to being the damsel in distress, Wonder Woman dared to ask the radical question, what if a woman saved someone? It was a very different time, okay? But thankfully, her character helped to shift the status quo away from that. Wonder Woman went on to transcend that of being just another superhero and achieve the goal every character dreams of, becoming a symbol. For decades, she has become synonymous with feminism and acts as an inspiration for girls all around the world, showing them that these feminine traits the world perceived as a weakness were actually their strengths. That she's just as capable as a man and stronger than most, but never sacrificing her femininity. I've been doing this for 2 minutes straight. I'm gonna lose my mind. But never sacrificing her femininity to achieve that kind of heroism. An inspiration to both men and women alike as she preached equality in a way that made an everlasting impact, effectively becoming the mascot for the movement and cementing her place in history as one of the most important characters in any genre, and we are all better off for it. The reason why she was able to ascend to such a place is because of what her character represents. If Batman is supposed to represent justice and Superman is hope, then I think Wonder Woman is all about love. Wonder Woman is much more of an activist that's actively trying to change the world for the better. She's the heart of the DC universe and someone with an overwhelming sense of care to do things right. Raised to be the perfect warrior, but instead opting to operate with compassion and empathy. There's this common misconception that Diana is a bloodthirsty combatant, and anyone who knows her character could tell you that this is a ridiculous level of misinterpretation. Listen, those games were a big part of my childhood, but the damage Injustice did to the public perception of these characters needs to be studied. So many people grew up thinking that Wonder Woman was a violent fascist. Violence is always the last resort for her, as peace is her priority, always going out of her way to reform her villains, not kill them. And I think that is fascinating. For a character who is largely inspired by Greek mythology, painting her as a warm and affectionate hero is a great subversion that immediately makes her stand out. She has every reason to be violent, literally raised to hide from a world that's inferior to her own and filled with hatred, but instead she embraces it, throwing away life in this perfect utopia, because her own curiosity for the outside world grew too strong, as she needed to know what it was like out there. It doesn't matter that her own people turned their back on said world. She was able to see through all of its flaws and understand that these people are worth saving. It's such an interesting idea for a superhero to show that strength and compassion can come hand in hand, not at the mercy of one another, constantly being tested by a very cruel world, but persevering because of this innate goodness that fuels her. And God, do we need that kind of symbol now more than ever? How do I say this in a way that doesn't have YouTube at my throat? Today's political climate is very volatile. Entire campaigns are being run on hatred as the world is regressing in a way that's very scary to see. We could really use a positive and empowering character like her right about now. She serves as a constant reminder of what equality can look like, and she does it in the most badass way possible. I know that a new Wonder Woman adaptation isn't exactly gonna fix all the world's problems, but the power of a symbol can go a long way to inspire people and give us some much needed escapism from this hellscape we currently live in. And also, if you want to put aside her importance to pop culture and her motivations for a second, the fact that she uses a lasso, sword, and shield to fight her battles is reason enough to love her. Wonder Woman has such a unique style of combat as she fights to protect, not to harm, and I think that makes her incredibly exciting to watch. How could you not want to see someone clear a room of goons with nothing more than a shiny piece of rope? That goes so hard. But because of the fact that Wonder Woman has been so undervalued in the mainstream, people have begun to think that her character is an industry plant, which is just straight up bizarre to me. This is the Wonder Woman we're talking about here. In no world should she ever be considered an industry plant. This is an industry plant. Meanwhile, this is a symbol that has inspired people for over 80 years. She has earned her place in the history books, but the most annoying people you know are trying to discredit her, and that sucks. We desperately need to see her back in action again just to finally shut those people up and show them why she's such a timeless superhero. A frustrating amount of people love to fight over the fact that because Wonder Woman hasn't been adapted much, they don't think she deserves to be part of the Trinity anymore. They say that she isn't as popular as she used to be and has been surpassed by more deserving characters in the modern day, but I really don't see it that way. The fact that she's able to maintain this level of popularity and relevance even without a show or dozens of movies speaks to her importance. She's transcended the medium to obtain immortality in the mainstream, and it is baffling that DC isn't capitalizing on that. The problem here is that someone this popular isn't more popular considering just how important she truly is. And I won't pretend like I'm not part of the problem. I don't know shit about her character outside of the movies and the Justice League animated series. The most I've learned about Wonder Woman is through the mainstream. I've only just now started reading Wonder Woman comics when making this video, and I started with the Absolute series, which hardly counts because it's an Elseworlds tale. That being said, it's f***ing incredible. Oh my god, I cannot recommend this book enough. We're only 7 issues in as I record this, and they had me so excited I could run through a wall. I had to do a lot of research when making this video because I don't know enough about Wonder Woman, and that needs to change. It's why I'm so insistent on seeing her get some movement in the DCU, because I want to learn more about this character and fall in love with her side of the universe. There's a wonderful world to explore with her that we've barely even begun to touch on. Over 80 years of history, and the most we've seen from it is a god with a silly mustache, a woman really into cats, and sweaty Pedro Pascal. I don't want to sound too desperate, but also, I am desperate, so please bring her back into live action already and do something new with the character. Cersei has already been introduced in the DCU thanks to her being the villain of Creature Commandos, so do something with that, G-Man. I mean, you gotta fix her characterization first because it's very off, but she could easily carry a movie as a Wonder Woman villain, and I think it would create some really dynamic action scenes as we see Diana take on magic. It's vastly different from what came before, and a natural way to build off of the foundation already laid. It feels like a no-brainer. I also think that someone like Dr. Psycho could be a really interesting villain to see Diana face as well. Brains vs. Brawn is a tale as old as time and provides a refreshing new challenge for the, Guys, what is Wonder Woman's nickname? Superman is the Man of Steel, and Batman has a greedy amount of them. But does Wonder Woman have one? I just googled it and I can't find anything. We need to start there with changes, because how does she not have a nickname? Sorry, what was I talking about again? Oh, right, the villains. We could also just do Cheetah again. I am more than happy to just pretend Wonder Woman 1984 never happened if all of you are too. It'd be nice to get a take on Cheetah that isn't a cartoonishly evil villain with very little substance, and one that doesn't look like she belongs in the movie Cats. And Jimothy. If you're struggling to find an actress who can play this character, look no further. I usually fumble anytime I'm asked to fan cast someone, but I actually have someone in mind who would make for a great Wonder Woman. You know her best as the Scarlet Scarab in Moon Knight, but I think that Mai Callumway is the perfect person to don the tiara. Not only does she look the part, but she's an incredibly talented actress who's shown that she can portray both strong and caring very well. And man, it'd be nice to finally have someone who can act play Wonder Woman.
I need you to give me the stone!
Mai is genuinely just a really kind-hearted person, and I think that's exactly who you want to play this Paragon of Peace. That's it! That's what her nickname should be. The Paragon of Peace. Other names I've seen thrown around include Andor's Adria Arjona, who I think would definitely be my runner-up, Melissa Barrera, who absolutely deserves a big breakout role, and Katie O'Brien, who is the perfect choice if you want to get someone that's already jacked and can act. But what I'm trying to say is that there's no shortage of great actors out there to choose from, so chop chop man, get to work. As long as we can find someone better than this,
And enough champagne to fill the Nile.
It's the upgrade of the century. If there's one thing I want you to take away from this video, it's that Wonder Woman is an incredibly important character to not just the DC universe, not just to comics as a whole, but in pop culture itself. She's an inspirational icon who has stood the test of time as a beacon of love and a champion of feminism. It isn't a stretch to say that she's played a role in making the world a better, more equal place. For a character that is so influential, she's been shockingly underrepresented in the mainstream, but it's a testament to her popularity that she remains relevant. It's about time we capitalized on said popularity and made her a priority again as the DCU kicks off in a big way this year. With Superman clearly tackling the theme of hope and being good, introducing Wonder Woman is the next big step in driving those plot points home. She's able to tell those kinds of compassionate stories in her own unique ways that deserve to be highlighted. I can't keep scrolling the internet and letting my brain rot away seeing people wrongfully claim that she isn't important. It's time for Gunn to lock in and announce something for Wonder Woman already. If nothing else, we need this to happen so we can finally move on from that interpretation of the character. I can't hear that one guitar riff anymore. It was cool at first, but now I've heard it so much that it haunts my every waking moment. Please just announce a new actress before I have to hear that again. Oh my god, it's happening. I can't do this right now. Please, make it stop. But why don't you let me know what you want to see out of Wonder Woman in the DCU? I would genuinely love to hear what everyone has to say and continue the conversation down below. And while you're at it, feel free to give this video a like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. If you don't do it, I'm gonna play the Wonder Woman theme again even louder, and trust me, you do not want to hear that blasting at full volume.